Ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise, and welcome back to From the Depths, Most Wanted, and Rambot, frozen in time, hovering above the desert ground. Because the vehicle for today requires me to start this whole video paused for reasons we'll get into earlier. This is the Scorn, more specifically the Scorn Swarm, and you're probably wondering, BorderWise, what are you on about? This is in the easy section of the Twin Guide. Like, it's not even that expensive. Like, it's got 6 drones, well, 5 drones, 1 mothership. This is the mothership right here, it's got a red hat on it. And altogether, they're like, this is not a great example, let's tilt that up. 84,349 materials in total for like 6 of them. How are these dangerous? Well, I'm gonna let you think about that for a second. That's not the best sentence to use. But usually I start off these Most Wanteds with talking about, like, you know, I start with the strengths, like why something is dangerous, why something is something you should watch out for. But in this case, I'm gonna start with the weaknesses because it's rather obvious. First one is this is not an incredibly optimized swarm because, well, when they don't have anything to fight, they crash into each other, so they're kind of stupid. So, not a major strength on their part. They're not tremendously fast by thrustercraft standards either, so... Alright, so their maximum speed is around 85 meters per second, which is fast, to be fair. And, but it's nowhere near as fast as thrustercraft can get. Like, 100 meters per second is like what I'd say you have to aim for anything that is thrusting around fast. That sounds weird. They die extremely fast when they're alone. Like, take note, alone. That's important because they are very small. They're only, like, they're less than 300 blocks each. They are mostly made out of, let's see here, what are they made out of? They're made out of, applique, they're made out of alloy. Not incredibly durable stuff. You can already see where this is going, why these things are going to be so annoying to fight. But yeah, and they have no active defenses whatsoever. Like, they move around, they're reasonably fast, but not super fast by thrustercraft standards, as I said. But there's no countermeasures, there's no flares, there's no heat or radar decoys, there's no lambs. Like, what kind of lambs could you even fit on something this small? Like, no Siwas, no nothing. And armed just with a bunch of missiles, which are actually kinetic missiles. Now look at it, kinetic EMP and kinetic explosive. So yeah, these first glance not a scary thing, but now we get to the strengths of these. You'll notice that pretty much all of them are still alive, despite the fact that they're been doing a lethal tango now for, oh, I don't know, like something like 2 minutes or more. Because this is honestly one of the worst sides of the Twin Guard, is their repair tentacle spam. These things will repair each other back from the brink of death over and over again, and then they'll do it again one more time just to spite you. So, yeah, they do that. And by the way, they don't even need to repair each other. I have, just out of curiosity, tested a swarm of these just with all the repair tentacles taken off, and their performance actually really doesn't change that much. Like, they still would manage to fairly easily chip to death a lot of the vehicles I've made in the past. So yeah, they're obnoxious like that because they're really annoying to hit. As you actually, it'd be a good idea to actually show you. Whoops. Let's spawn in a rook. So here we have a thing that is, let's see here, that's like, it's slightly cheaper than them, but it's a good example of the kind of thing that is really not prepared for this. So they just swarm things to death. And because they zigzag back and forth like this, let's hop on one so we can all get properly sick. It's scooting forth, scooting back, and they accelerate and decelerate very quickly. So Even advanced cannons tend to have a bit of trouble hitting these things. So they zip back and forth, really hard to hit. And when they crash into each other, it's no problem. They repair each other. And even if you get direct hits on them, it doesn't really do much. And yep, AI dead. That little annoying EMP spam. So yeah, that's a problem. And they get right in your face. So if we spawn all the way over there, we spawn in Bastion, for instance. And did we lose a... We did lose one. It got lost. So these guys like to get in your face and stay there at quite short range, at a roughly 200 meter away. So you can see here, they're roughly 200 meters away. And they zigzag back and forth at short range, which annoyingly means that anything that has trouble aiming up, like these crime cannons for instance, has a bit of an issue with dealing with them. Actually, are these dumbfire missiles? That's something I should check. I didn't actually check that. Nope, it's a radar seeker, just to make you cry. And let's go hop over there. Whee! So yeah, like, they will scratch larger vehicles to death piece by piece, and smaller vehicles just really don't stand a chance unless they're actually specialized to deal with this swarm specifically. And because they have small missiles, they counter standard CWIS target prioritization. So, let me explain what I mean by that. So, in order to demonstrate this, let us just destroy all vehicles, and I'm going to just have an AI, like so, and target prioritization. So, set all to 0. Usually on something like an anti-aircraft gun, or a secondary laser, or something like that, usually the most straightforward way to make it attack small annoying craft like the Scorn, or things like gannets or lynxes, like from the Steel Striders, or any kind of small thing, flying squirrels, dusters, whatever, is to set the priority for range to maximum of -1, which means it prioritizes anything that comes close, which incidentally is also very useful for getting your vehicle to prioritize shooting at suicide or melee craft, right? So that works fine, except the Scorn messes with this value a lot because they zigzag back and forth, which means that your AI, if this is like how it's set up, will keep switching which drone it's aiming for, and it means that'll give the other drones time to repair any damage that's caused. So this threw me for a loop. Incidentally, I should mention that nobody asked for this Most Wanted. This is one for me. This is one for BorderWise, because it's twice now in campaigns, once in Neater and once in Ashes, where these things have just come out of nowhere and just ruined my day completely. They're so annoying. And to give you an example, a kind of recreation of what I had to deal with. So let's have over here, where's it? Land vehicles, ashes, walkers only. So we've got our skipper scout walker, which is more of a shuffler, and I'm gonna spawn in. Let's spawn in 3 of these. Actually, let's just spawn in 1. Let's just spawn in 1, just for demonstration purposes. And if you get caught with your pants down by a Scorn swarm, this thing's armed with a laser, by the way, and usually, most of the time, lasers work just fine against a small, erratic moving, a little bastard craft like this. But in this case, it doesn't. Simply because these things can out-repair any kind of damage that doesn't basically instantly kill them. And their missiles, you'll note that a lot of them are just kind of whiffing. That's because of how they steer, and also because this is not an incredibly good way to set up a missile decoy, but that's beside the point. Their missiles reload quite quickly. So they are, like, their missiles reload faster than decoy flares can get dropped. So that is a big problem. And so here, we're just ganging up on my poor little scout walker. They've blown the thrusters off the back, because that's how this thing moves, by the way. It's not a real walker, it's a fake one. And actually, wow. I did retrofit this thing to change its target prioritization a little bit, and that alone makes a difference, but still, Just one of these guys. Admittedly, huge material advantage for the Scorn Swarm, but this shows you just what I had to deal with, and probably what a lot of people had to deal with. I've heard horror stories from people regarding swarms of hover tanks getting taken out by this. That was not from Ohm is Futile, but it might as well have been. I think Ohm builds hover tanks that are too good to get, like, nailed by these things. Damn him. Damn him and his beautiful hover tanks. But yeah, this is a pretty good representation of what happens if you're not ready for a Scorn Swarm. It's just, they think, oh, small little annoying drones. What's the worst that could happen? It's like, wait a minute. Oh. And that's just all bad. The fact that they've got... I didn't even realize they had kinetic missiles, but they do, and they actually hurt a lot, because those little missiles are fast. So yeah, my poor little fake walker is not having a very good day. So, how do you survive these things coming to kill you? Well, as tends to be the case in From the Depths, if you know it's coming, you immediately have a much better time of it. And, jeez, oh, look, still trying to walk. But he can't. Incidentally, armoring with alloy is an absolutely rubbish idea. There's specific reasons why this thing is made of alloy, but generally, like, you know, bad idea. Don't do it. Also, poles also not the best idea. I've recently been fully demonstrated that by people showing me science. But I'm getting off topic. How do you survive a swarm of one of these? Well, firstly, be big. And you want to deliberately overestimate how much firepower you need to deal with this kind of thing. Because they can just soak up so much punishment because of their stupid repair tentacles. You also want something that's faster than them. So remember I said they're not incredibly quick. 85 meters per second. That's certainly faster than most ships. But a larger thruster craft can make short work of these guys if it has the weaponry for it. We'll get to that in a second. You also need lambs. Lambs really do help, because even though it's using kinetic missiles that have more health than they would have if they didn't have those reinforced bodies, they still don't have much health, and a strong lambs will just laugh in their face. I wonder if the Eerie can demonstrate that with something similar. Actually, you know what I should do? Let's spawn in an Alcazar. Let's have one annoying thing deal with the other annoying thing. Because the Alcazar has pretty strong lambs. Let's see how you do. It also helps to do EMP proofing, and the Alcazar actually, just coincidentally, is kind of good at that because just of how it's designed. It's got lots of empty spaces and stuff like that. It's a little bit overkill. It also has surge protectors in funny places. Actually, that's not good EMP proofing at all, so disregard that. Here's all the surge protectors back here. Let's see if its lambs is enough to deal with what this has to offer. It also has AA guns, which is very, very handy. Whoopsie daisy, its lambs is not quite good enough. But it does have enough advanced cannons in order to deal with these little annoying drones, particularly that one. Incidentally, it's once these things start to stagger their fire a bit, it's somewhat easier to deal with because it means they aren't all shooting their stuff at once. Ah, but you can see by the guns going crazy just how the target prioritization gets messed with. In fact, the Alcazar just shot itself. How the target prioritization kind of gets messed with just by these guys zigzagging back and forth. So yeah, something to watch out for. And yeah, that is a bit of a problem. So, how do you kill it, though? Well, first, obviously, you need to outdamage those repair tentacles, which means, like I said, you need to kind of, like, there's no such thing as overkill, let's be honest. There is only open fire, and I need to reload. But you really gotta, like, use more Daka than you might otherwise need for a small, annoying drone like this. Like, a lot more. I'd say... whatever can successfully take down a flying squirrel, you need something like 2 to 3 times that amount of DPS, at least, in order to take down a single Scorn drone when it's in a nice big swarm like this. You need lots of good secondaries, so in this case the Alcazar has decent secondaries. It's got these little frag turrets on the side here. And it's also got those 5... Incidentally, this is ideal. These 500mm secondaries... on the Alcazar, that's actually exactly what you kind of want for the Scorn, because, you know, you can just, you know, blow its face off and hopefully kill it in one shot. Timed APS flak, so big flak, big frag shell, something like that, with also a decent rate of fire. That'll help you out. Particle cannons, of course, and lasers, but they do need to, like I said, they do need sufficient DPS in order to kill these things. The poor skipper Scout Walker earlier had a laser, but it didn't have enough lasers, so you need enough lasers. You also, missiles don't work really well against these things because they change direction a lot, but swarms of missiles, like real overkill, can get the job done. Is basically you just fill the air with missiles and just hope that the Scorns are dumb enough to fly straight into them. EMP jolts as well, so if you look at a Scorn, it doesn't have super good EMP proofing. Like, it's got surge protectors in the front, but if you drown it in EMP, it is a small craft and it can get disabled at the very least. But yeah, you need a big EMP jolt, or lots of them. Or just one that's big enough to AI dead it, destroy the surge protectors, and also deal with all the other nonsense. And like I said, if you set the target prioritization right, you can just pick these drones off one by one, because you can't split your fire between them. If you go for one and then switch to the other and then switch to another, they'll just repair each other and you'll be stuck there forever. So, now, let us demonstrate with a bigger, nastier walker that I have built specifically for, well, built, more like retrofitted, specifically for dealing with the Scorn. So, let's go Twin Guard, here, Scorn, and let us spawn in our variant here. So, we've got the Solifuge right here, which is, again, it's actually a thruster craft with legs. And then we have a variant, which I've called the Sky Hunter. So if you're aware of what the previous Solifuge was like, it's named after the camel spider, by the way, it had an EMP heat gun, which was very good, and big honking kinetic missiles. It runs, in huge inverted commas, at 100 meters per second, but this one's a little different because the barrel is lighter, so it tracks faster. It's got an AA mantlet in there, and it's got more fins on the missiles, so it is purpose-built. In fact, it can take on not one, but two Scorn swarms at once, which is actually material equivalent to the Solifuge's cost. So there we got a nice a Hesh frag EMP, and you can see right there one of those missiles just I think it just kind of disintegrated one of them. Yeah, it just knocked off a missile silo right there. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so this thing is fast enough to kind of outrun the Scorns, so they can't all just get in contact with it. Because the big problem is if they try and do something like this, and you need to stay out of range of the missiles, and they're not good at hitting fast targets. And you'll notice the way the gun is firing, it's aiming for one and kind of sticking with it, which is very important. There we go. And the Hesh, oh, that's what I was going to say. So it's got a Hesh head so that if it does get a direct hit, it does something a little bit more damaging than an ordinary time fuse shell would do. So this is basically the best way to deal with a Scorn, is have something that's faster than it, and has weaponry that can kind of focus down piece by piece the individual drones themselves. And those missiles tend to miss a lot, but they can... Ooh, hello. You've fallen down. So that is exactly what we were hoping. So this little guy strayed just a little bit too far away from his pack, away from his little thing, and even though other things are closer, the Sky Hunter is still shooting it down, making sure it's dead. So, yeah. So this is basically, honestly, the best way to deal with a Scorn Swarm. I have a ship that can do something like this as well. It has 4 500mm guns in a turret. So, yeah, like you really kind of want to one-shot these little bastards as much as possible. So let's Whoopsie daisy, I locked onto a missile. Let's lock onto this fella. Look at him run. Yeah, so Scorn, man. Scorn is annoying as hell. And of course, wow, that was awesome. Alright, so, that's basically how to deal with a Scorn. Like, it's easy, because, like, on paper at least, it's a small craft, it doesn't have good defenses, but in practice, I'm more afraid of this thing than I am of a lot of other Twin Guard designs. Let's see here, so... Let's see here, Scorn Swarm, and in Godly, you have things like the Manticore. I'm not too bothered by that, because it's big and expensive. Bertha, like, Seraph is kind of scary. Biss is really big. Titan. Like, in fact, the Twin Guard just in general have really annoying stuff all around. But the Scorn is something to be particularly concerned about, precisely because it's marked as an easy craft, which means they'll spam these on all difficulties, and they're cheap. Like, 6 drones for like less than 80,000 materials, that's a cheap craft, and so you are almost guaranteed to see at least one Scorn Swarm in any playthrough you do, regardless of whether it's your first one or your 1000th and first one. So yeah, really annoying. And I guess this is kind of a closing rant as we watch the Sky Hunter murder these guys, but on the note of repair tentacles, the Scorn for me really kind of highlights just what incredible BS repair tentacle spam is. Like, I'm completely off the idea of them at all. Like, things that use them are just not fun to fight against, and I know somebody's going to say, well, just learn to get good. I know, but even once you learn how to deal with them, it's like, this is not fun, these are not fun, and I know it's kind of the feature of the Twin Guard, but like, I would not be upset. And I'm not saying that the devs should do this, because as far as I'm concerned, their judgment on this is better than mine, but I really wouldn't be bothered if something like you can't use repair tentacles in combat, or like, something like that, or, I don't know, something like that. Because anything that uses them, it just feels really cheap and annoying and unfun. Like, these the Scorn would already be annoying enough, even if it didn't have that repair tentacle stuff. Like I said, like, it could still do everything it did before, just less annoyingly. So yeah, that's basically the Scorn. Like, yeah, it's a real classic, actually, for Most Wanted. It's like, this isn't a godly craft, it's not something big and scary, but it's just something that you are very likely to run into it when you're fighting the Twin Guard, and like, if you're not ready for it, you're just in so much trouble. Like, I'm trying to remember the last time I ran into something like this. I'm trying to remember what vehicle I had that was completely had its ass kicked by the Scorn. I think it's just like it was a battleship that I ended up using against it, because that's the thing that just happened to have enough firepower to put it down, like, properly. Oh boy. I really want to watch this entire swarm get destroyed, but, like, you know, the video's dragging on, and I guess we can't have that, we can't have the whole video with that. So, hope this was helpful, and if you didn't know about the Scorn at all, well, now you know. Keep an eye out for the thing. It is really, really annoying. And thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon or YouTube membership if you like. It really helps, and there's fun perks in it for you. Thank you to all my current supporters, and I will see you next time in From the Depths. Most Wanted. Farewell.